So I'd just like to talk a little bit about some of the applications that you've worked in some of the commercial buildings.
Right. So we've worked in a bunch of commercial buildings, right? So commercial buildings typically have, three to five areas where we might overlap with that commercial building. So most of them have a chilled loop in them, right? So they have some
Hmm.
sort of loop that's what they would consider closed. Um, Depending on where you are in the country, they also can have a hot loop, right? Houston may not have hot loops, but other areas do.
We do. They're just not used that much. Maybe more for humidity control than anything else.
Exactly. Um, then, depending on whether they're hooked up to a district energy site, they may or may not have their own cooling tower system,
Hmm.
right? So you've got those three things, which are typically the main things. Then after that, you've got the potable water system, right? And so we've done a lot more work in the potable water systems recently, and that's with just managing the quality of drinking water and typically understanding how that water runs through the building. But what I'm really saying is that as we have been driven towards reducing water consumption overall, we have all these water saving features that are coming in, right? So we have eyes on our faucets, we have low flush toilets, all of which are great. The problem with them is that the way the water system was designed originally didn't really account for that reduction in water usage. Therefore, what happens is the life of that water, or the amount of time that water resides in the building, has gone way up.
Sure.
As that life goes up, or as that residence times in the building goes up, the disinfectant that's there goes down. So you've kind of got these two things working against each other. And what we've spent a lot of time working on over the past couple of years are technologies and how we can address that without, wasting water. Because if the solution to that problem is flush, I've really kind of wasted my money on low flush toilets and eyes and on the the faucets. It just doesn't make any
Hmm.
sense to me, right? And really, that was the only solutions that we've really had. We've looked at, and these are there are lots of technologies out there. We've looked at ways to add disinfectant. There's ways to do that. We still run into issues with that disinfectant doesn't go unless the water goes there. So you're still stuck with flushing to get it there. So you added a complexity to that building as well as not really solve the problem, right? And that's kind of where we've gotten, um, where we have started to recommend and use the triple clear technology, right? So we've talked a little bit about that
Hmm.
as a technology that has helped us solve this problem, right? So the triple clear technology, we've kind of vetted that in terms of that it functions, it removes bacteria, it removes viruses, it allows us to put it in the beginning of the building as well as at the end use points, and allows us to make sure that after that point, we know that the water is substantially bacteria free, right? Or at least a 6 log reduction in bacteria, which is what we care about, right?
Sure.
And that's becoming more important now, even with the COVID-19, is because when you restart your building, you need to replace all your filters. You can't let them sit, right? Now, one of the advantages that we're seeing from this particular technology is that you don't have to replace this technology. And that's because it has a built-in biocide within it with the silver ions, right? And it maintains its electrostatic charge, right? So from my client standpoint, when I'm trying to protect their spend, if I have to go and tell them, because this is going to happen again, this whole pandemic thing, this is not the last pandemic we will probably go through, unless I hope it's not, but probably not. If you have to, go through this again, replace, I mean, a building can have 50, 60, 100 filters in its drinking fountains. If you have to replace all those, that's expensive, right? So if I
Sure.
cannot replace those and I don't replace them until I need to, that's a cost savings for my client, as well as making sure that that water is bacterial free, right? So those are the kind of things that we're looking at from a commercial standpoint, a commercial building standpoint, in terms of what's going on, as well as as well as fountains, right? So we look at fountains, decorative fountains in those systems, making sure that those comply with ASHRAE 188, as well as the potable water, hot water systems, are all things that we end up looking at and touching in some way or another in terms of the chemistry that's going on in that system.